mean? Like love and peace and happiness. I mean, that's really what it feels good.
Look at it. It's just the face pops, the eyes pop, good. Everything is just.
I want to make
high vibes.
Someone else's day better.
Imagine this. You're Kim Kardashian. You've spent years building an empire out of fashion, fame, and strategy. You've transformed your image from reality TV star to mogul. You've launched Skims. You've fought for recognition, respect, and influence. And you've done it all while managing a personal life that constantly makes headlines. Your ex-husband, Kanye West, is doing his thing, making music, stirring controversy, and you're left juggling kids, brand deals, and public perception. And then add to that the drama of romantic entanglements. We know you've been linked with Pete Davidson. We know there was tension with Tom Brady. And now imagine that while all this is going on, a billionaire enters the picture. Someone who isn't just rich, but among the richest people on the planet. Jeff Bezos, a man who built Amazon from the ground up. Someone whose influence and financial power can make or break dreams.
Jeff, you know, his love of space and his love of Blue Origin and what he's doing and his passion for making space accessible to everyone really was like, okay, this fly is going to go to space and see the world.
That's amazing. And we are here.
A matter of years. And suddenly everything you've worked for, all the strategies, all the information, all the insider secrets you've collected and shared suddenly have the potential to yield unimaginable returns. And so, Kim starts playing her cards. She's reaching out, she's networking, she's charming, she's laying out all her cards. About Skims, about her business strategy, about her plans for generational wealth, she's pouring in the information, hoping that her hustle, her celebrity influence, and her charm will secure the deal she's been dreaming about. Meanwhile, around the edges of the story, you've got Sweeney, a rising starlet whose presence seems to appear everywhere Kim wants to be. Younger, culturally relevant, sexy, and gaining traction in Hollywood in ways that even Kim, with all her experience and connections, can't seem to match. And suddenly, Kim is not just competing with other moguls or rivals in business. She's competing with younger versions of herself in the entertainment world. People who embody everything she wants to represent in fashion, beauty, and cultural influence. And so you can feel the tension building, because on one hand, Kim is the queen of strategy, the ultimate Kardashian hustler, the woman who has made a career out of charm, social influence, and brand creation. And on the other hand, there's a billionaire who doesn't operate by Hollywood rules, a man who isn't dazzled by fame or beauty, who sees opportunity differently, who values outcomes over appearances. And suddenly, every move Kim makes feels like it might not be enough. So she leans in harder, she networks more aggressively, she gives more information, she pushes more narratives in interviews, in public appearances, in private meetings. She's trying to signal to Jeff that she's the one to trust, that she's the one with the vision, the creativity, the knowledge, the connections to turn an investment into a blockbuster success. And at the same time, we see the personal drama unfolding. Pete Davidson in the background, ex-husband chaos, Tom Brady dinners and private encounters that leave everyone talking. Every move Kim makes is being measured, analyzed, and compared to younger talent, to rising stars, to people like Sweeney who suddenly seem to have the kind of energy, charm, and marketability that threatens the narrative Kim has spent her whole life creating. And it's not just about age or beauty or fame, it's about timing, it's about opportunity. It's about a billionaire deciding where he wants to put his capital, and suddenly, the stakes are higher than ever, because this isn't just Hollywood. Gossip, this is business, this is investment, this is power and influence and generational wealth on the line. And Kim, as brilliant and strategic as she is, has to navigate not just the public eye, but the private boardroom, the whispers, the strategies, the rumors, the behind-the-scenes deals, all while trying to maintain her own empire and her own personal brand. And you start to see why this becomes what some are calling the ultimate American horror story. Because here you have someone who is used to controlling narratives, someone who is used to being the headline, someone who is used to bending perception in her favor. And yet, there is a force in Jeff Bezos who simply does not play by the same rules. He's not swayed by glamour, by red carpets, by Instagram. Likes by magazine covers, he makes decisions based on what will deliver results. And suddenly Kim realizes that what worked on Kanye, what worked in her past relationships, what worked in previous business ventures, might not work here. And this is where the tension starts to build. the suspense starts to grow. The curiosity. For the audience is off the charts because you're watching a master strategist, someone who has made billions from perception and influence, being faced with a situation where influence is not enough. Charm is not enough, and suddenly every move is high stakes. Every word she shares could either secure her future or leave her exposed. And the story only gets deeper when you add the rumors that Jeff Bezos might have been more interested in Sydney Sweeney than in Kim herself. That the billion-dollar investment she expected for Sky Investment Partners could have been redirected. That the very secrets she shared in trust could have been used to benefit someone else, someone younger, someone who represents a different kind of cultural relevance. And so you can see the drama, the stakes, the tension, all coming together because this isn't just about money or fame, this is about legacy, about power, about influence, about the ultimate play in Hollywood and business combined. And Kim, despite all her brilliance, despite all her strategy, despite all her connections and influence, suddenly finds herself in a situation that is precarious, that is uncertain, that is dramatic. And you can feel the audience leaning in. Because who doesn't want to see how the queen of Instagram, the mogul of fashion, the ultimate Kardashian strategist navigates the situation where the rules she knows no longer apply? Where her charm, her hustle, her knowledge, her experience may not be enough. And this is the opening act of a story that promises heartbreak, strategy, betrayal, ambition, and ultimately a lesson that nobody wants to learn until it hits them. That in the game of billionaires and empires, even the most famous, the most influential, the most strategically brilliant players can be outmaneuvered. And that, my friends, is where we start. With Kim at the top of her game, dreaming big, hustling harder, and unknowingly entering a world where the rules are different. The stakes are higher, and the outcomes are anything but guaranteed. So buckle up. Because as we continue through this series, you're going to witness drama, strategy, romance, power, betrayal, and ambition collide in ways that are impossible to predict. And it all begins with Kim, her dreams, her hustle, and the billionaires, who might just rewrite the rules on her. All right, you guys, pick up where we left off because things get even messier and more shocking once Kim realizes that the game she thought she was playing isn't even on her terms anymore. Imagine the tension building. Kim is thinking she has everything lined up. She's got her empire. Her Skims line is hot. The world is watching. She's in her 40s, but she's still dominating headlines. And then there's Jeff Bezos, the man who could turn all her private equity dreams into reality. Someone who isn't impressed by Instagram followers, red carpet appearances, or viral moments. Someone who makes decisions based on results, strategy, and influence in ways Kim hasn't fully accounted for. And so she leans in harder, giving him access to all the inner workings of her empire, sharing strategies, ambitions, plans, maybe even secrets about Skims, about business partnerships, about market expansion, thinking that the more she gives, the more invested he'll become. Meanwhile, the world is watching, rumors swirling, tabloids speculating, and Kim is navigating all of this while keeping her public image pristine, her Instagram perfect, her appearances flawless. But behind the scenes, there's a storm brewing, because while Kim is calculating, planning, strategizing, there's Sydney Sweeney, younger, fresher, already turning heads. And suddenly, Kim realizes that the billionaire she's been charming might be more interested in backing someone else, someone whose energy and appeal represent the next wave of cultural relevance. And sources say that's when Kim's frustration starts to mount, because this is her world. She's the queen of influence. She's the master of turning attention into business. But suddenly, attention alone doesn't cut it. Suddenly, charm isn't enough. Suddenly, someone else is getting the investment, the opportunity, the backing that she had assumed was hers. And now the tension escalates because Kim starts questioning her moves, asking herself whether she misread the signals, whether all the interviews, all the private meetings, all the carefully orchestrated charm were enough to sway a billionaire who doesn't operate like the rest of Hollywood. And that's when the drama becomes even more intense. Because imagine thinking you're about to secure $1 billion investment for your private equity firm, imagining that all your strategy and hustle is about to pay off, and then finding out that someone else, someone younger, someone with a rising profile, is suddenly the beneficiary of the very deal you were counting on. And so the one scroll narrative keeps going because the audience is leaning in, because this isn't just celebrity gossip. This is a story about influence, power, ambition, and the harsh reality that even the most brilliant strategic minds in Hollywood aren't immune to being outmaneuvered when the rules of the game are different. And sources suggest that Kim, despite all her experience, all her intelligence, all her cunning, starts to see the reality that billionaires like Bezos don't play by Kardashian rules. They play by results, outcomes, and opportunity. And as she navigates this new reality, she's forced to reconcile her public persona with the private heartbreak of seeing a deal she expected slip away. And the story gets juicier because not only is Kim dealing with business disappointment, she's dealing with personal drama, ex-husbands, romantic entanglements, public perception, fashion rivalries, and the subtle comparisons between her and younger stars like Sweeney, whose rise seems almost predestined, whose timing is impeccable, whose cultural influence and visual appeal capture the imagination of the public in ways Kim spent years cultivating, but now finds slipping through her fingers. And all of this is compounded by the fact that the deal she thought was hers, the billion-dollar investment in Sky Investment Partners, was more than just money. It was the validation of her strategy, her influence, her empire-building prowess. And suddenly, she's faced with the reality that access and charm, the very tools that built her fortune, are no longer enough. And the tension mounts further when insiders reveal that Bezos made the decision to invest in Sweeney's venture, leveraging the insights Kim had shared to help another rising star. And suddenly, Kim is learning one of the most expensive lessons in Hollywood history. Not everyone can be hustled, not every billionaire can be charmed, and even the most strategically brilliant players can be outmaneuvered if they misread the game. And this is where the one-scroll narrative grabs the audience, because you're watching a multi-layered story unfold, where power, ambition, beauty, strategy, romance, and business collide in real time, where the stakes are not just fame or fortune, but generational wealth, legacy, and influence. And Kim, despite all her planning, all her charm, all her hustle, finds herself navigating a world where her rules don't apply, where the game is different, and where the ultimate prize might be going to someone else entirely. And that's what makes this part of the story so compelling, so addictive, so scandalous, and so real. Because the audience knows that the stakes are enormous, that Kim's empire, her dreams, her ambitions, and her personal pride are all on the line. And now we're left wondering, how will she react? Will she recalibrate? Will she strike back? Will she adjust her strategy? Or will she learn the painful reality that even the most calculated moves can be disrupted by timing, talent, and a billionaire's choices? And as the story unfolds, you realize that this isn't just a tale of celebrity drama. This is a lesson in power, ambition, strategy, and the brutal truth that even queens of influence can be humbled. And so the audience stays glued, reading every word, following every turn. Because this story is about more than Kim Kardashian, more than Sweeney, more than Jeff Bezos. It's about the high-stakes game of Hollywood and business colliding in a way that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about fame, influence, and the cost of ambition. All right, you guys, buckle up, because the saga gets even more intense now. Imagine Kim Kardashian, the queen of strategy, influence, and attention, finally starting to realize that the rules she's mastered her entire life don't work on someone. Like Jeff Bezos, imagine the tension as she leans in, trying to charm, negotiate, impress, hoping her years of empire building, her Skims empire, her social dominance, will be enough to secure $1 billion investment in Sky Investment Partners, only to slowly learn that the billionaire mind works differently, that charm, beauty, fame, and influence only get you so far, and that timing, business acumen, and strategic ruthlessness win the day. And now picture Kim noticing the subtle shifts, the signs, the whispers in the industry, that Jeff's interest might be elsewhere, that the very secrets she shared with him about Skims, about her strategy, her insights, her private equity dreams, might be being applied to someone else, someone younger, hotter, fresher, someone whose rise she thought she could manage or least anticipate. And that someone is Sweeney, who's suddenly everywhere, getting attention, capturing imagination, rising in ways that Kim, despite her years of experience, cannot control. And the tension skyrockets because Kim thought she was orchestrating her empire like a chess game, but now realizes she might be a pawn in a game she doesn't fully understand. And insiders say that the moment Kim understood the $1 billion investment wasn't hers, the moment she realized Bezos was putting that capital into Sweeney's venture instead, was when the full weight of the lesson hit her. that even the most strategic, calculated, media-savvy moguls can be outmaneuvered when they misread the players, when they misjudge timing, when they assume that charm and influence can always tilt the outcome. And the heartbreak is compounded by the fact that this wasn't just a business deal. It was the validation of Kim's ambition, her ability to transform influence into generational wealth. It was the ultimate prize she believed she was destined to claim. And now she's watching it go to someone else. Someone who represents everything Kim once was or wanted to be. Someone whose energy, youth, and cultural relevance can't be out-charmed or out-negotiated. And the story is addictive because we see Kim grappling with a reality Hollywood rarely shows. The vulnerability of even the most powerful figures. The hard truth that no matter how many headlines you dominate, no matter how many Instagram millions you command, no matter how much of a mogul you've become, there are forces and players beyond your control. And as Kim processes this, we see her frustration, her recalibration, her attempts to figure out how to navigate the fallout, how to protect her empire, how to adjust her strategy, how to keep her brand intact while watching a billion-dollar opportunity slip away. And this is where the audience stays glued, because it's more than celebrity gossip now. It's a lesson in power, strategy, ambition, and the ruthless reality that even the most influential figures can be blindsided. And as the story unfolds, insiders hint at the tension building behind the scenes, the private meetings, the strategic calculations, the whispers that perhaps Kim tried to leverage her access, her charm, her empire, her public influence to sway the billionaire, only to realize that Jeff Bezos isn't swayed by fame or fashion or viral moments. He's swayed by strategy, results, and timing. And suddenly Kim sees that her usual playbook, the charm, the influence, the connections, the social dominance, isn't working. And the psychological tension escalates because she's forced to confront a harsh reality. Not everyone can be manipulated. Not everyone can be charmed. Not everyone will hand over a billion-dollar opportunity simply because she's Kim Kardashian. And the drama is heightened by Sydney Sweeney's rise, by the whispers that the investment she coveted, the deal she worked tirelessly for, is being used to launch someone else's venture, leveraging insights Kim provided in trust. And now we're watching a true Hollywood horror story unfold, because this is more than a failed investment. It's a lesson in hubris, ambition, and the limits of influence. And as Kim navigates the fallout, trying to recalibrate her empire, her personal brand, her public perception, the audience can't look away because the stakes are enormous, the emotions are raw, the lessons are brutal, and the story keeps spiraling as we realize that even the queen of Instagram, the mogul of fashion, the master strategist of attention and influence, can be outplayed when she misreads the game. And that, my friends, is what makes this part of the story irresistible. Because we're not just witnessing celebrity drama, we're witnessing power, strategy, ambition, and human vulnerability collide in ways that leave us questioning what it really takes to succeed at the highest levels. And Kim, despite all her brilliance, all her planning, all her hustle, is now forced to reckon with a reality where the rules are different, where influence can't guarantee success, and where a billionaire's strategic choices can rewrite the entire game. And the suspense, the curiosity, the heartbreak, and the lessons keep piling up, making this one-scroll narrative impossible to stop reading. Because you're watching ambition, strategy, celebrity, and fortune collide in a way that could only happen in modern Hollywood. And the question now becomes, how will Kim respond? Will she adjust? Will she recalibrate? Or will she learn the most expensive lesson of her career in public? And that tension, that anticipation, that curiosity is what keeps audiences glued, scrolling, and watching every twist, every subtle shift, every sign that this drama is far from over. All right, you guys, brace yourselves because this is where the plot thickens. Imagine Kim Kardashian, the ultimate strategist, the queen of influence, watching everything she thought was hers slip through her fingers. Imagine her excitement, her planning, her hours of strategic charm, the private meetings, the interviews, the Instagram perfect appearances, all building toward the moment she expected to secure a billion-dollar investment in Sky Investment Partners, a deal that would cement her status as not just a celebrity, mogul, but a powerhouse in the business world. Imagine the shock when she discovers, sources say, that Jeff Bezos, the billionaire whose decisions shape markets, who built one of the richest empires in the world, who doesn't play by Hollywood rules, decided to redirect that massive investment to Sydney Sweeney, someone younger, hotter, culturally relevant, someone who represents the new wave of influence and ambition. And the betrayal hits harder because Kim had shared all her insights, all her strategies, all her private business knowledge with Bezos, thinking that trust would yield her the ultimate reward, thinking that her charm and strategic brilliance would secure the deal, only to realize that a billionaire of Bezos' caliber is not impressed by celebrity or Instagram fame. He's impressed by results, opportunity, and timing. And suddenly, Kim sees her private equity dreams for Sky Investment Partners unraveling. She's demoted from active founder to mere figurehead. The billion-dollar plan evaporates. And she's left with the harsh truth that even all her influence, all her hustle, all her insider knowledge cannot guarantee an outcome when someone else controls the power. Meanwhile, Sweeney is suddenly in the spotlight, benefiting from the very strategies Kim shared, launching her venture with $1 billion backing, leveraging insights that could have been Kim's ticket to the next level of generational wealth. And the tension escalates because Kim isn't just losing a deal, she's losing validation. She's losing the opportunity to prove that her empire-building skills translate beyond celebrity. She's forced to confront the brutal reality that not all players respond to charm, fame, or influence, and that even the most calculated moves can be foiled by timing, ambition, and someone else's strategic decisions. And insiders suggest that this betrayal isn't just financial, it's emotional, because Kim's carefully cultivated image of power and control, her mastery of perception, suddenly feels fragile. Suddenly she realizes that even she, queen of social media, mogul of fashion, master strategist of attention and influence, can be outmaneuvered when the rules are different, when the stakes are higher, when someone else's rise intersects with a billionaire's strategic choices. And the drama is compounded by personal dynamics, ex-husbands, romantic entanglements, public perception, media narratives, all while watching the person she underestimated, Sweeney, rise effortlessly with the tools, knowledge, and opportunity Kim thought were hers. And now the one-scroll narrative grips the audience because this isn't just celebrity gossip. It's a story about ambition, betrayal, power, strategy, and the harsh lessons even the most influential can't avoid. And Kim is forced to recalibrate, to rethink her approach, to figure out how to maintain her empire, her brand, her public image, while processing the reality that a billionaire's decision has rewritten the playing field. And as she navigates this, the audience can't look away, because we're witnessing a true Hollywood and business horror story, where the stakes are enormous, the emotions are raw, the lessons are brutal, and every strategic move, every charm offensive, every calculated effort is put to the test. And as the story unfolds, Kim's struggle becomes a reflection of a universal truth, that influence can be limited, that charm can only go so far, that even the most brilliant strategies can be derailed when power and capital are wielded differently than expected. And the suspense builds because the audience is left asking, what will Kim do next? How will she respond? Can she recalibrate her empire, reclaim her power? Or is this the ultimate lesson in hubris, timing, and ambition? And all the while, Sweeney rises, the investment grows, the public watches, and the drama escalates, creating a one-scroll narrative that's impossible to stop reading, impossible to look away from, because the stakes are monumental, the betrayal is massive, and the tension between ambition, strategy, influence, and fortune has never been so gripping. And that, my friends, is why this chapter of the story is truly unforgettable, because it shows that even the queen of influence can be humbled, even the master of strategy can be blindsided, and in the end, it's a lesson in power, wealth, and the unpredictable nature of ambition at the very highest levels. All right, you guys, hold on. Because now we reach the climax of this saga. Imagine Kim Kardashian, queen of strategy, influence, and empire building, standing at the crossroads of ambition and reality, watching as the billion-dollar investment she thought was hers transforms into Sweeney's launchpad. Sources say the realization hits hard that even the most meticulously planned moves, the hours of charm, strategy, and careful influence, cannot guarantee outcomes when you're dealing with a billionaire who operates on a different level. And this is where the real drama unfolds. Because Kim is not just processing financial loss, she's processing personal betrayal, the lesson that not everyone can be charmed, that access and insight don't always translate into power, that influence, no matter how massive, has its limits. And now she's left to recalibrate, figure out how to maintain her empire, protect her brand, and navigate public perception while the world watches. And meanwhile, Sydney Sweeney, younger, culturally relevant, and rising faster than anyone anticipated, is benefiting from the opportunities Kim once aimed to secure, leveraging insights, strategies, and possibly even secrets that Kim provided, in confidence. And the tension is palpable because this isn't just about money. It's about validation, legacy, influence, and the reality that even the queen of Instagram and fashion can be blindsided when the rules change. And insiders suggest that Kim is learning the ultimate lesson in humility and strategy, realizing that charm and fame only get you so far, that timing, opportunity, and the ruthless logic of billionaires like Jeff Bezos determine who wins at the highest levels. And as she processes this, the audience is glued, scrolling, captivated by a story that mixes celebrity drama, business intrigue, ambition, betrayal, and personal growth all at once. And what makes this one scroll narrative irresistible is that it's not just gossip, it's a masterclass in power dynamics, showing that even the most influential figures must navigate a world where perception is powerful, but not all powerful. Where strategy matters, but cannot predict every move of those with greater resources, and where ambition, no matter how relentless, can be outmaneuvered by timing, capital, and calculated decisions. And the final takeaway, as Kim reflects on this chapter, is that influence has limits. Charm has limits, and even the most brilliant strategies can fail when confronted with forces beyond your control. And yet, there's a lesson in resilience. Because while Kim may have lost a billion-dollar opportunity, she retains her empire, her public influence, her brand power, and her ability to rebound, which is what makes her truly formidable. And as Sydney Sweeney rises, backed by the billionaire investment that Kim once aimed for, the audience can't look away, because they're witnessing a modern American horror story of ambition, influence, power, and betrayal that reads like a cautionary tale, a Hollywood epic, and a business masterclass all at once. And the suspense, the curiosity, the shock, and the lesson leave everyone engaged, scrolling, thinking, questioning. And that, my friends, is the ultimate conclusion of this saga, the lesson Kim Kardashian doesn't want you to hear.
This video covers legal allegations in a news context. All claims are from official filings and no guilt is implied until proven in court, please. Keep all discussions respectful. Allegations are not facts until proven in court.